Hey, what's good, everyone? Can all of you hear me? I see the first person here. Shout out to you. Hey, you were here. 6:32. Sheesh. So I'll let you all come in here for a second, and then we're gonna get to this topic because we gotta talk about something that I've been noticing. I know it's a bit of a repetitive lesson, but I just wanted to make a video just to reiterate what we all have already known, but just to spell it out in the video for all you individuals who may not know some of these reasons why a lot of Maggles, a lot of Daggles, well, just a lot of Maggles, because those are the ones who are doing the dirty work. I mean, yeah, the Daggles might be fun in it, but the Maggles are the ones who are doing the dirty work. They're the ones taking out the trash. And what are they taking out trash about? Hey, good. It's King Sigma. What's good? What? I think it's your first time here, dude. Shout out to you. Shout out to you. So, King Sigma in the house. Shout out to him. He has been tearing it up in the manosphere. Well, I'm not going to say we're in Manosphere 3.0, but he is definitely setting himself to be one of the individuals who is the face of Manosphere 3.0. So with that, I got to give him his salute. Now, for all of you out there who are wondering what I'm going to talk about today exactly, it's in particular about all these reasons on why a lot of Maggles and a lot of Bebe's kids, that's why I like to call them Maggles. You know, some people call them Maggles, some people call them hyenas, some people call them reptiles. On this channel, we're calling them Bebe's kids. And the only reason I'm using the term Maggles because it seems more universal than anything else. But why are all these Maggles and Bebe's kids caping for Daggles in the Communitah? And King Sigma, if you want, later on, I might have some people come on the panel, so you're open to come on if you want. But as far as the reason why a lot of these Bebe's kids do what they do, it's for a couple of reasons, which I have right here. But if anyone else wants to put in the reasons down afterwards, then feel free to do so. But let me go ahead and get this thing started. Okay, so YouTube hasn't even shown that I went live. Okay, that's okay. Good job, YouTube. Good job. And there you go. Do what they do. All right, there we go. So I can see the comments. And come on, hey, mods. Well, actually, you know what? Sigma, let me go ahead and return the favor and mod you up. Let's get that comment in there. All right, we don't lie, we multiply. Exactly. So as far as these reasons, well, first of all, you have to understand this. These Maggles specifically, these Maggles and these Bebe's kids are overall dependent on keeping the Communitah and the Daggle the way they are. They have no vested interest to change the current condition of the former rotting corpse of the so-called Communitah. Shout out to Kerry Jones. For if they did, or if the Communitah became a community, and if Daggles became reputable women, then it would be lights out for the Maggle. It would be lights out for the Bebe kid. And I'll go into reasons why. First of all, the reason why they want to cape for the Daggles in the Communitah is because they want to relive middle and high school. Now, a lot of these individuals, they won't admit it. They'll come on here and talk about how much game they got, how much swag they got. Hell, some of these individuals will put game and swag and all these hip-hop, black redneck terms as part of their avatars. And you know the first second they open their mouths, they're on that Bebe kid crap. They're like, nah, I mean, shorty, who we be, what time it is in the house, like all this other stuff. And that's if they talk. That's if they don't mumble. Hell, you're going to see the future trolls and Maggles of YouTube, future Bebe's kids. They're going to make roasting videos with just murmuring. They're just going to mumble everything except the dude's name. The dudes that they're going to cook, and then they're just going to mumble. You won't even be able to tell what they're saying. that's where we're headed to when it comes to this Maggle and Bebe kid. But as far as reliving middle and high school, a lot of these individuals who talk all this tough swag talk, the reason, well, half of them are lying on their you know what, because these guys were not as cool as they thought they were, or as they want us to think they were in high school. And the ones who may have had a little clout in high school, they only had that clout because they went along to get along. They were part of the get along gang, you know, get along, you know the song. I get along, I get along, like all that crap. Getting along to get along mainly meant, particularly from the Communitah, that even though you may have been a B plus student or an A plus student, you intentionally became a failure, or at the very least mediocre. You may have been a church boy, but instead you were trying to be down with the gangsters. You may have been a schoolboy, but you instead were trying to sell dope. You may have been the smartest kid in your class, but you wanted to have that swag, to have the Daggles pay attention to your ass. That's all this was. And then that's all this is. This is high school all over again. A lot of these Maggles within this sector of YouTube, or that sector, what you know, that the sector of YouTube that we, you know, let's just say the sector of YouTube. A lot of Maggles in the sector of YouTube, a lot of Bebe's kids, they have an idea of who, or they think they have an idea of who's cool or who was cool. And as a result, they'll do whatever it takes in order to impress the quote-unquote cool kids of the school. And a lot of that usually comes from going after thinking black men. And going after thinking black men, going after those who think outside the box. And obviously, the thinking black men and the SYSBM guys are on the outskirts of that Communitah mindset. And especially when you hear the thinking black men, as well as the SYSBM group, whoever, once you hear them going after the typical chicanery of the Communitah, what else are the Bebe's kids and the Maggles going to do? They're going to do the same thing that they've always done ever since middle and high school. In some cases, elementary school, especially these special Bebe's kids, these badass Bebe's kids. I mean, and they're going to basically cape. But no, a lot of this was done only because these Bebe's kids were trying to cover their own ass. Even if they didn't get any within the Communitah, they just wanted to know that they weren't going to be isolated. They weren't going to be the odd boy or odd girl out. They wanted to hide in that mass of individuals, which is the reason why I chose the picture that I did for this video. A lot of Bebe's kids do it in order to not be singled out. I get it. It's a group interaction. It's a social construct. I get it. But there's no excuse. And shout out to Man of Tomorrow in the house. Salute. Look, Man of Tomorrow, King Sigma. I don't know. We may have a show on our hands, ladies and gentlemen. But let's continue. The second reason why Maggles maybe escape for the Communitah is that you're insulting their family, friends, and Communitah whenever you criticize it. I gotta give Obsidian credit on this. He actually did a show or YouTube podcast to the guy who said he was going to transition over to Mixler. So shout out to him on his no shots, but he did make a YouTube upload recently about how whenever you criticize the Communitah, you criticize one of these Bebe's kids, these mediocre Negroes family members. It's just as simple as that. For some reason, Black America does not have what it takes. I don't even think it's because they can't. Maybe in the 20th century, Jim Crow and segregation and we got crap, we had to put up with each other. The upper class, middle class Blacks had to put up with the black redneck and wannabe black redneck culture. But in the 21st century, when we have all this land in the United States, especially considering how MOT pointed it out, that you can purchase land throughout this country that is uninhabited, unused, and that's being sold by the state at pennies on the dollar. And this is before the so-called pre-recession that we're still waiting for. But yeah, it's easier now more than ever for the Black intellectual class, the SYSBM class, thinking Black men, or just thinking Black people in general, to separate from that Bebe kid cohort. They can do it. I mean, well, if white America and non-Black minority American can do it, why can't Black America? Hell, non-ADOS blacks do it. Hell, a lot of them do it by coming here, for goodness sakes. And you can tell that because most of the non-ADOS blacks who come here aren't trying to mess with Black people in general, especially the hood culture blacks. And yes, it takes them for some time to know the difference, but hell, what they see on TV and what the Communitah allows, you can blame some of it on the mainstream media and the powers that be who determine that. But yeah, you can't blame them. But a lot of these individuals, a lot of people within the Communitah, for some reason, they feel as if you're insulting or criticizing the pathology in the Communitah, you're criticizing their aunties, their sisters, their cousins, their baby mamas, their potential baby mamas that they're going to game up in the club with all that swag. Watch out for that juice. And most importantly, their mamas. And in the Communitah, you can talk about all the patriarchal figures you want. But if you talk about Bebe's kids, mama, oh, it's going to be a fight. Oh, it is going to be a fight. And look, they feel as if, especially these Bebe's kids who want to go after these females, they feel as if they have to kiss their ass in more ways than one. Which, I mean, that's another reason why a lot of Maggles and Bebe's kids caper the Daggle. Third reason. These guys are ass kissers. Look at how they operate. Look at how they speak. Look at how they dress. Look at how they move around, operate. These guys are full of that juice, that so-called juice of hood swag and hood game and all this other crap. And yet these individuals still, at the end of the day, don't have the respect of this Daggle. And barely have the respect of the Communitah. I mean, they have enough respect that they'll be invited to all, the cookouts and hashtag cancel the cookout. Cancel the cookout. Yeah, watch my video, cancel the cookout, to know what I'm talking about. But yeah, they're getting enough respect in the Communitah in order to get invited to the cookouts and the shindigs and the parties and the birthdays and the after parties and the club. Let's not forget about the club, because that's where a lot of Negroes do their business. Business, not even business. Business is the club, because it's the only place where if you're ADOS, you can socialize. You can't socialize by doing the morning hikes or the afternoon surfs or the the evening bonfires. What kind of lame ass, educated, lame white boy ass shit is that? As certain B1s would say. What kind of cornball shit is that? As other B1s would say, or other people within the Communitah and Bebe's kids and whoever. Nah, you gotta go to a club if you want to socialize. These mediocre Negroes and Bebe's kids have been socialized so bad that they believe that unless you ooze of hood swag and culture, oh, you forget about it. You aren't gonna get any. And these guys are so concerned about a woman's opinion. WABT, as MOT says, what a bitch thinks. What a scraggle daggle bitch thinks at that. I mean, you're going to let some Daggle that tell you how to speak like mean shorty, if that's the difference between, and that's going to be the difference between you getting respect and maybe some tail, maybe, and you not. And trust me, the tail that you get isn't going to be out of respect. It isn't going to be because of you being you. It's going to be because of you doing enough doggy tricks to get doggy treats. Because that's what you're doing. Every single time you claim to have swag and game, and turn your hat to the side and have little gang signs like you're like it's some whack ass video from the early 2000s. Or get out of here, dude. See, that's the reason why I have my kind of swag. That's the reason why I like to call surfer swag or beach swag, to rhyme with street swag. Because here's the thing. I would rather be who I am with beach swag than to imitate something that either I'm not or I can't achieve to the highest level with street swag. See, that's the reason why a lot of these daggles, to their credit, give you all sorts of shit tests and all this other kind of stuff and drag you through the mud of all this drama. And if you get caught up in crossfire, that baby mama drama, and then you end up getting exposed, and then you end up being put on child support, not because you aren't taking care of your kids, but because you lied to the people. You lied to the sisters about all that swag you had. Oh, Cletus, you didn't have any of that damn swag. You were in the house like the rest of us. You were playing GoldenEye and Halo and Call of Duty with me and the other so-called educated you-know-whats. But you decided that you wanted to be down with Lil Jizz and Young Illuminati, who actually had enough swag, or at least enough swag to go to Hollywood, and Dede and Nook Nook, who, I mean, they really had the swag because one of them's dead and the other one's in prison. But you, Cletus, you had that swag? You were able to trick those daggers for a bit. But those daggers are smarter, you may think. And eventually you got caught up in a crossfire, and now you got to do time. Not time in prison. 18 years. Well, about 18 years. And that's if your kid doesn't go to college. But in any case, the next reason why Maggles and Bebe's kids came for the Communitah is that you're risking that. Check this out. MOT, King Sigma, everyone else in the building, KC, Goat and Eagle, everybody. Fat Boy, I see you there. You are risking their Daggles supply. What is that Daggles supply? It's like the drug supply for the drug dealers. They need a certain amount of inflow in order to keep the business going. If they don't get that inflow, that influx every now and again, eventually they're going to be out of the business. They're going to be out of a job. These Maggles rely on that Daggle supply because that is how they determine, one, if they're a man or not, because once again, they're going by Daggle standards, Communitah standards of what it means to be a man and how much Daggles you slay per given day. And also, a lot of these mediocre Negroes, these Bebe's kids, they know they don't have the game on what it takes to get quality women, whether it's ebony or special women outside the race. So they need that supply of Daggledom because they figured out how they can get the Daggle. That's easy. You know, just go to the club, do a little jig, do a little step and fetch, do a little that, and make it rain a bit, buy a bunch of Daggles drinks on some thought shit, you know, and talk shit about thanking black men, call them lames, call them coons, that sort of thing. It's all good. And then you may just get, if you got a couple dozen times, you may get like 3 or 4 Daggles in your rotation. And then talking about, oh, I got a rotation. I got a rotation. I get a bitch every day of the week. Knowing damn well 2 of them are baby mamas. One of them goes to the trap house. And another one, she may be all right. She may be good. Well, 2 of them are fat. The other 2, can't forget about the fat ones. And then the one who's all right, one's decent looking. You're basically her break glass just in case of emergency, Negro. When you basically get to see her on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays when she has nothing better to do. That's your rotation, Mr. Bebe kid. But yeah, you MOT, Sigma, all these other guys I've had in streams. I mean, the SYSBM guys, thanking black men guy, all you out there. Do you guys not realize what calling out this Communitah and Daggle A game changer. You've been calling out these Daggles a lot. You've been talking to them a lot, but I don't know about that. We got to talk to you about that. But yeah, but you've been calling them out as much as you've been talking to them. So I got to give you that much credit. I mean, that's more than some of these other guys who so-called, well, not even so-called, but they built the manosphere, but now they're trying to negotiate with terrorists. I mean, come on. Anyway, but yeah, you all have to realize this. Their Daggles supplies in risk. And these mediocre Negroes, they don't even want to do the minimum what it takes to get these Daggles these days, or what it will take in the future once these Daggles hit the wall and beyond. And it's these three things. Because you can tell some of these Daggles are on here like every day doing a live stream and talking about no, I mean. They don't want to do these three simple things. And what are these three simple things? It's a J, it's an O, it's a B. They don't want just to get a simple, basic-ass job in order to make themselves viable. I mean, come on. Just get a job. That's all you need. Minister Japp tells you constantly on how to get hoes. He even says, I don't know how to get women. I don't teach you how to get women. He probably knows how to get women, but he doesn't teach us how to get women. He's not on YouTube. But he teaches us how to get these hoes. I'll give him that. You want to get some hoes, get some single mothers? Listen to Minister Japp. There you go. Let me see. Yeah, talking about going south. Let me talk about going south right quick. I know Edward Anderson talks about, we just need to go back south, and we're gonna have a little infomercial. And he's an infomercial about why we should go back south and go back to the SOUF, not south, but south. And to that, the only thing I have to say is this: I'm not going back to where a bunch of Maggles and Daggles and their Bebe's kids are. A bunch of mediocre Negroes and all that stuff. I mean, nah, we aren't doing that. Yeah, exactly. Thinking black men are leaving Milwaukee. Exactly. 2030. Yeah, that's 2030. Watch out. Let me see what else. I'm trying to go to these chats right quick so we won't disturb the flow too much. Oh, you mentioned some good states. I never thought about the. Yep. All those states sound good. Those are some rural places or some libertarian states that don't have it in for black men. Check out those states. Let me see what else you guys are talking about. Let me see. All right, so we've got up. Right. And see, here's the thing, Mike. Look, I'm not even trying to be hilarious, man. I'm just telling it how it is. Someone else said I have charisma. And you know what? That's the thing. A lot of these individuals won't call me out, and they won't use me as an example of an educated lane because, or a guy who has no swag, because they know that I have a certain kind of swag. It may be a surfer swag. It may be a beach swag. It's not a street swag, but it's a beach swag. And as far as that's concerned, it still works outside Communitah. So, yeah, I mean, they can't use me as an example. They'll use some of these other guys, but whatever. Anyway, next example. Next, Bristol Daggles supply. Oh, yeah. Another reason why a lot of these Maggles and Bebe's kids will cape for Daggles in the community is because of the bribe from the Daggle. Some of these Daggles out here are actually smart. Well, actually, a lot of them are smart, but they're just stubborn. A lot of these Daggles are stubborn, but some of these Daggles are now really starting to play chess. They're starting to figure out how to play chess and what moves can you do with the rook and the bishop and the knight and the queen and the king and the pawns, which the B1 Maggles and all those other the overt ones, they're the pawns. So we just need to figure out which ones are which. And so of the other pieces, which one's to Hotep Proac, which ones to save the Communitah caper, the ones who talking about I play basketball with boys, and you know what? I was dunking on them, even though they were like 6 years old, and I was doing all sorts of Jordans and Kobe's and LeBrons and my Yeezys. But I was helping the Communitah. I know I smoked them in 21, but we had a 24. Shout out to Kobe, even though he had a Mexican wife. But you're a real man. You're a real man. even though I cooked them like 10 years ago for being whitewashed and being a Carlton. But shout out to, see, that's what a lot of these hoteps are doing now. Watch out for that. They're praising Kobe during his death, but they were roasting him probably 10 years ago. But and also because he went to SYSBM. Shout out, rest in peace to all 9 of them, including Kobe and his daughter. But yeah, watch out for these mediocre Negroes who try to big up the dead. Don't get me started on that. But yeah, these pro Communitah guys, a lot of what they're doing is either for the promise of Daggles, or they're being bribed by Daggles. And that's what a lot of these people within the Communitah are doing. These Bebe's kids, Maggles, when they came for the Communitah and for the Daggle, it's because they are being bribed by the Daggle. And let's not get this twisted. If you are married to a Daggle, you're still being bribed by them. I'm sorry. I mean, marriage is like the most covert kind of bribe you can do. I mean, yeah, you can say, well, that's my wife. That's my wife. Okay, that's cool. It's all cool. It's all good. It's all good. I get it. But if it sounds like a Daggle, if it quacks like a Daggle, if it walks like a Daggle, if it twerks like a Daggle, if it speaks like a Daggle, girl, look, I'm sorry. And now, if you're married to an honest to goodness black woman, God bless you. You are an endangered species. I'm telling you that right now. God bless you because you're an endangered species. It's, I'm sorry, the era of the Winslows and the Huxtables and whatever Will Smith's family was, Uncle Phil and them, those are endangered species. And I mean, we could have had that going. TV's a hell of a drug. TV's a hell of a drug. I don't know who came up with that term, but yeah, Rick James. Yeah, Rick James. But apparently, it wasn't enough. I think and there was a lot of people watching, but apparently, for some reason, they decided to go from proper black families to Daggle Namin, single mother, or sing all this other chicanery and coonery that we saw on those unpaid Negro network. That UPN network that was popular with all these minstrel shows back in the late 90s, early 2000s. You all remember that crap. I mean, the best thing that was on there was SmackDown. But yeah, as far as that's concerned, the ADOS black woman's God. Yeah, you're funny. Queens. Now it's actually KC. It's QWEE or EANS. Spell it right. But yeah, these individuals are being bribed by the Daggle. Because some of these Daggles are now starting to be like, you know what? My odometer is over 350,000 miles. What will another 10,000 miles, well, make it 2,000 miles do? Because for starters, I mean, I'm already at 350,000 miles. And two, it's going to add only like 1,000 miles because this Maggle, or this guy who is complaining, he may be complaining about a Daggle. Hell, we had someone on Man of Tomorrow's stream yesterday, that was Grinch, talking about one of his former associates. He was praising SYSBM. He was like, oh, I'm going to go to this country and I'm going to get all the Beckys. Come to find out, he goes to Germany and he becomes the newest Maggle on the block, the newest Bebe kid, newest member of the Bebe Kid Defense Force, the Daggle Defense Force. And now he's talking about, well, Daggle's God. He was calling out names. Come on. In any case, as I said, I don't do this a lot, but let me see. 30 likes, 44 watching. That's not bad. But we can do better, especially with no super chats. It's all good. As long as you're going to behind the door with the Cashapp. Somebody puts Cashapp in there. Let me see if I got the Cashapp. Oh, damn, I don't have the Cashapp. Well, it's in the description. It's, come on. Really, I'm not good with the Cashapp, am I? But in any case, one of my mods put the Cashapp in there. But as far as this is concerned, you even as a thinking black man, you may be tempted because these Daggles, some of these Daggles will come around and say, you know, I always liked you. I always liked you, and I don't know why you tripping. So, you know, you know what? I apologize for all my BS and all my carousel riding with all the Pookies and Ray Rays and Day Days and Nucks and Man-Mans and Charlie and Bottom Shelf Brad. Shout out King Sigma for his Emmy Award winning report on the DJ Kid scenario. I mean, stuff like that. If it gets monetized, not even monetized, if it gets trending and viral in the year 2019, 2020, you know, stuff like that would have been up for an Emmy Award 20 years ago when people actually watched television. So, I mean, with that said, shout out to him for that. And I'm just going to do some cheap advertisement right quick. Let me see. Let me go ahead and do this cheap advertisement right quick. If you got to do something, if you're going to do something, you do it yourself. It's all good. So, yeah. So with that, don't be bribed by these Daggles, because that's what they do. The ones who are smart, really smart, have like triple-digit IQ smart, they will bribe you with what you know or what they know you want and what you know that they know of what you want. It's all good. And I'm even saying have fun with the Daggle. Just, well, actually, if you can avoid it, just avoid it. If you live in a segregated place or a place down south and all you're surrounded by are Daggles, then you got to do it in your grounds, and you got to make sure that all the bases are covered and bases are loaded, and all your bases belong to you, and make sure she doesn't set you up onto Marion Barry shit. Yeah. But in any case, the next reason, a non-Daggle black female population, shout out to the good black women who are out there, will make Maggles have to step up their game beyond swag and hood status. That's the thing. A lot of these individuals are afraid, or definitely afraid, of a place where we actually have accountability, where we actually have functional societies, particularly within the Communitah, particularly within Black America, where the Huxtable image of the Black family, that becomes a standard over the Cletuses and the Jank, all these other boom shikas, like all this crap. They're afraid of that. And do you know why? Well, the Bebe kid, the Maggles, mediocre Negro, they've been able to get away with being just that, mediocre. Bebe's kids, Maggles. They've been able to get away with that for so long that they themselves don't want to step it up. I get it. A lot of people say you got to self-improve if you want to get some hot tier, fine women, all this other kind of stuff. And while that may be true outside the Communitah, in real communities where people know what time it is, people know the focus, people know how to pick good men. And I'm not talking about when they're beyond the wall. I'm talking about well before it. Self-improvement works. I advocate for that. And I include non-ADOS Black America in that equation. But when you're talking about, as MOT says, a Communitah that is just ruled by reptiles, or as King Sigma would say, a black redneck culture, then all the self-improvement in the world, particularly the mainstream way of self-improvement, won't mean a hill of beans when it comes to getting females. And that's how a lot of Maggles like it. Because if we had a real community, if we had a real prosperous society, or just a functional society, just like how the Middle Easterns and Latinos have it, where at worst, the chicanery is correlated with income. The higher you go up in the income state, the less chicanery there is. No ifs, ands, or buts. And especially if we had like, and I guess we can throw a white American in there now because it's based on income at this point. But they're falling into the crossfire, just like the mediocre Negro is, just like the Communitah is, especially if you're in the South or a flyover country. But yeah, if we're like Asians and Indians and like the the ultimate frisbee champions, because I can't say the word without YouTube thinking I'm anti, why. Yeah, anyway. If we're like them or like the Africans, where they kick out their trash, they take out their trash. You don't believe me? You don't want to be a failure. You don't want to be a Maggle in those communities. Excuse me. If you are a Maggle in any of those communities, you're done. You're finished. It's over. You might as well become a wigger or pull your best DJ Khaled or whoever. You better become the Asian DJ Khaled or whatever. You better be one of these African dudes who say you're from Brooklyn or something like that, because everyone can say they're from Brooklyn and get away with it. I think the one place everyone says and nobody questions it, or no one from Brooklyn questions it. If you're from the Bronx, the uptown, the boogie down, uptown Bronx, people are going to question you. If you're from Philly or Chicago, I'm from Chicago. Well, that's an old reference. If you guys get that reference, I'll be amazed. I'm from Chicago, nigga. If you're from those places, people are going to question you. People are going to make sure they're checking files. They're doing background checks. But if you're from, anyway, I won't go into that. Look, as far as the community is concerned, if we had a real black community, it would be even worse when it comes to the incel population, the guys who aren't getting any, the guys who will be fighting over who gets what, who gets a sniff what, who gets a buy for what, because the standards will be just that much higher. And granted, I don't think it'll get any worse when it comes to the 80-20 rule, but the 20% of guys who will be worthwhile in the eyes of well-to-do, thin, feminine, cooperative, submissive, and just well-represented black women, that 20% will shift. And that's what the Communitah fears, is that 20% of individuals who will be seen as part of the select, part as the elite, part as the alpha group, they're afraid that group's going to shift away from them. Or they're afraid that if they're in that pre-select, pre-hood status, just they fear that they will be outside of that consideration entirely. Like, I mean, yeah, you may not be in the top 5. You may not be going to the playoffs. Yeah, think of it as college football, right? You're in the top 25, right? All right, cool. A lot of these Maggles who are in the middle, yeah, they're in the top 25, and they may be outside of it. But at the end of the season, if you have enough swag and game, you may get in there, i.e. a bowl game. Even if it's the Cheez-It bowl game, or it's the get in the zone, auto zone bowl game, or the burger flipping, Whack Arnold's bowl game. Look, you're in the bowl game. They're afraid, the Communitah, the Maggles, the Bebes kids are afraid that if we increase, and by the way, you only need 6 wins in college football to get into a bowl game usually. It's 6 out of 12. So as long as you're at 500, you're good. But if college football decided that no, you're going to need about 9 games to get into any bowl game whatsoever. And shout out to King Nick. Salute the $5.67 chat. A lot of these Maggles, or a lot of teams would flip shit. They'd be like, huh? Oh, we've been a 6-16 for like 6 years. And we've always been in the bowl game. Even though we haven't really done much, even though our greatest highlight was, getting that field goal win at the Chitlin Bowl ring, at the Making It Rain, bro, at the Making It Rain bowl game. Look, these Maggles are afraid that if the standards for Black America go up, if people got rid of this crap, then yeah, they'll be done. They'll be finished. They'll be caught outside. Well, they'll be in the crossfire in a different way. But in any case, as far as these reasons are concerned, and look, King Nick, and shout out to you. Let me see, King Sigma, and I'm gonna start it up with 2 of the other guys that I really know in the manosphere. King Sigma, MOT, let me know if you're still here. I'll send you emails to hop on because I like to hear your perspectives on this because we all know what a lot of these individuals will do. And let me see. Do I have? No, I don't have King Sigma's email, do I? But yeah, it's exactly the Chitlin Bowl, the freaking Chitlin Bowl. Don't get me started on these whack ass bowl games that they do these days. I'm still here. Yo, King Sigma. All right. I'm not sure if you want to come on. Feel free to let me know, and then I can send you an email. You can email me. But yeah, let me see. Anyone who actually wants to get on in general, let me see. Where's my email address? Feel free to send me that, and I'll send you the link. So let me go ahead and read some of these comments in the meantime. My brother, come join me, my fellow beta simp brother, King Sigma, highest priest, XanatosClutch. As we bow down to okay, all right, you're funny, bro. Exactly, they'll be obsolete. They'll be obsolete. Let me see. You all talking about getting into something. That's what's up. That's what's up. Let me see. Aren't most people in the world triple IQ smart? Come on now, you can't function probably. Now, you know what? You would think that, but you would be amazed. And okay, so we got whatchamacallit. Nope. Stop that, please. I'm gonna send King Sigma the link, so he's gonna be on right quick. King Sigma, I just sent you the link. There we go. So I just sent you the link. Man, and tomorrow, if you want to get on too and really make this smoke, let me know. Anyone else who wants to get on, feel free to go to that email address. So in the meantime, as far as all these reasons, as far as why the Maggles and Bebes cape for the Daggles, there are various examples to this, and you will see all these examples and a couple more. Oh yeah, one other reason, and maybe it's more of a tactic than a reason, but watch when a lot of these individuals talk about these three things. Either black community, or Communitah as I like to call it, black family, and black love. These three things are the things that a lot of these hoteps, these pro-wax, those within the Communitah, these other individuals, they will use these as justifications on the reason why. Yeah, King Sigma, I just sent you the link. On the reason why we should defend the Maggle, we should defend the Communitah, etc. Yeah, you're right. The average IQ in America is 95. I believe you on that. I will believe you on that. It was 98. Damn. Okay. And as far as calling in, I don't have a call-in per se. Maybe I have to set that up. I have to get with some people who know how to do that. But maybe in the future we can do a call-in show if we get enough people. 45 isn't that bad. I was able to hold 40-something for a long time. But yeah, as far as anything else, good. Okay, it's muted. Let me see. As I said, everyone wants to get on, but I only had King Sigma hit me up. So, and I think he is here right now. So I'll let him. Yeah. Turn that off. I always get caught up with that. Just StreamYard always wants to put your face on like some doxing crap. But yeah, put the camera off. Hell, I'll point the camera down unless you're using one of those laptops with it just faces you and you have to look at the camera. But yeah, put that down. And in any case,
there we go.
There we go. Shout out to Geo Scholar with $2 super chat. What's good? All right. So with that being stated, we've seen all these examples. I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself and say what you have to say.
Hey, what up with you, Xanatos, man? Thanks for having me on. Definitely enjoy your insight on the conversation. It's been like an ongoing thing since I started, conducting my own streams this last summer. That when you start looking at the different areas of human activity, you realize that for a lot of the native IDAS, quote unquote, persons, they're just so behind in all these different areas of human activity that we've really entered what I think, you refer to as, I believe it's the three fates, and Eugene Robinson refers to as the disintegration. And just in general, those with an eye on this next 10 to 25 years just refer to it mostly as the Great Separation. And I think that the majority, what has happened, typically you and I, we would not socialize and fraternize with the the abandoned poor on a regular basis. So yeah, of course you have like a couple, knuckleheads in your family or whatever, but outside of your family, you would typically deal with people that are in your socioeconomic class. The only exception usually is your family, because you can't choose your family. And I think what happens is that in this virtual space and on social media, it brings together, at least temporarily, people that in real life would never associate with each other. And what you're seeing is that as this internet evolves and more apps are introduced and more social media platforms introduced, and actually people are actually creating their own platforms now, people are actually starting to segregate themselves even within the digital space now. Because there is something called the digital ghetto. You know what I mean?
Right.
Oh. So that's kind of how I see it right now. And you're getting like a lot of blowback from persons that want to associate with you, even though you go out of your way to associate yourself. And I constantly, every time I come on lately, I'm having to repeat the same thing over and over, because I keep asking these guys, like, look, man, y'all been running the black majority for the last 65 years, and really mostly through history. But I don't even like to go beyond the civil rights movement. But at least since 1965, there's been a certain kind of a group that has controlled what the culture has become, what is referred to as the black redneck culture. It's a regressive culture. It's a non-competitive culture. And at the end of the day, they're not going to be able to survive in this fourth industrial age. And the more I read about this fourth industrial age, and the more I read about certain things that are in play politically, I really try not to tell people how bad it's going to get for the black majority, because then they start calling, oh, you're also black pill, you're black pill. And I'm far from black pill. I'm a very optimistic person, very healthy minded, and very much focused on my own, self-actualization. But, when you have this kind of social commentary, it gets kind of ugly when you look at the stats and the trends, man.
And absolutely. And in my video, The Three Fates of Black America, shout out to that. Shout out to everyone who's been plugging that. It does borrow from Eugene Roberts, his analysis, but it's a more simplified version. And I take more into account of what I see as the Africans who are coming here, the Africans, Caribbeans, who are coming here and are separating themselves from the ADOS group. A lot of it's for good reason. I hate to say it. And then you see a lot of those who are particularly ADOS black men, who some of whom decided to leave, but a good amount of them were driven away mostly through social exile. It's like being politically exiled in your own country. And a lot of them find themselves just in cases where if they're going to have some sort of companionship and legacy, then they have to look outside their race. Thus, you have the mixed group of individuals who, I know, yes, for now, I hate to say it, a lot of mixed people I've ran into have at best been SJWs for the Communitah. And I respect them. All love to them, all respect to them, but a lot of them tend to be more pro-black than actual blacks. And I don't say that mockingly in this case. I say that in the genuine sense. They actually care about their people, and they want to do all these things for the people, and they want to see the black race do well. Or at worst, particularly when it comes to the light-skinned women and biracial women, a lot of them tend to diss light-skinned and biracial men. And that's something that's definitely not talked within any part of black YouTube whatsoever. And I think it's for very self-serving purposes, but I won't go into there. So I won't trigger some individuals who want to play the I'm not sure if you believe in the seed of your father thing that a lot of people come up with, but I really don't believe it. And I think a lot of it's used for to justify a lot of light-skinned to keep a lot of light-skinned chicks in the community, so that a lot of people in the community can go for the lightest of light mixed girl and still say she's black, y'all. And
no, I don't believe in that. My whole thing is that I use the term biracial, and a lot of people that I know that are mixed biracial, that's what they prefer. In fact, Meghan Markle, she did a big expose back in 2016 in Elle magazine, making it known that she is not black, she is not white, she is biracial, and the same Amber Rose. So to me, it's like that's what they are. You're both, you know. That's what they are, biracial.
All right. Well, I'll give them credit where credit's due. But yeah, it's going to be these two races of individuals, and look, you have the biracial group that, I mean, eventually, sooner or later, they're going to have to come to terms that, particularly when it comes to the men, that they are not getting the best cut and the best deal when it comes to the community. And the women, yeah, they're feeling it right now. They're loving the status of queendom in the community. But eventually, they're going to get sick of it, and they're going to see what the light-skinned dudes have done without them, which in many cases, I can tell you as a light-skinned dude who gets constantly confused as biracial all the time, that most of my sexual or romantic relationships have been outside the community, and a good amount of them have been with quote-unquote other brown women, non-biracial brown women, like Latinas, Middle Easterns, Indians, Southeast Asians, etc.
Typical.
Typical. Yeah, and not the, well, most of the chicks I've been with have been white, but that's only because I'm so white. Cute that.
Man.
Trust me, man.
You love them Becky's, man. We got a lot of those up here, man. I used to knock those down like bowling ball pins, but I just kind of moved into like I like the brown and the yellow women, man. I like the brown and yellow, but yeah, we knock a lot of those bunnies down up here, man. They're so easy to come by. Like you basically go to like a sports bar here. You can just get off work, go to any sports bar downtown in either St. Paul or Minneapolis, and just post up for about 30 minutes. You'll have like some Becky hitting on you. It's like it's so easy here that you don't even think of it no more.
Where are you exactly? You don't mind me asking?
I'm in the Twin Cities, man.
Oh goodness, you're in the SYSBM Mecca.
Yeah, and I'm from Wisconsin, so for me it's like, and I actually lived out in San Diego too, so I got this weird like, I'm literally from like the SYSBM triangle, because if when people keep telling me about like Phoenix, Denver, Vegas, San Francisco, and Seattle, and they're like, man, those are the cities that are like kind of like our sister cities. So this is nothing new to me. That's why I kind of don't engage too deeply with the plantation drones, because a lot of these dudes are from like the South. So they're living in a different reality, and there's regional aspects to, freedom of movement and freedom of choice and things of that nature. So you got to keep that in mind. Like, again, the internet brings us together, but it doesn't distinguish, our different socioeconomic backgrounds, our different regional backgrounds. And that's why I was saying that, have you ever heard of assortative sociological mating?
I've heard of it.
You got to look into that. It fits your three fates model so beautifully. It would just add like such a supplement to your three fates. Because what I want to do is that the last week of February or the first week of March, I'm going to be doing, because this is the 10-year anniversary of Disintegration being published. So I'm going to be doing a panel, and I want to invite yourself and a couple of other guys that have talked about Black Peel and other things, and have like one of the most thorough conversation really on the disintegration of Black America. And I think that it would really behoove you to read about sociological assortative mating, because the whole theory behind it is based on how people mate, based on their socioeconomic status. Whereas before, it was a very much a racial-based mating for most of our history, but we've moved into a time now where people are choosing based off class and similar interests now, man.
Exactly. And to be honest, Man on Tomorrow, I just sent you the link. I sent to you at your, well, I'm not going to say your name, but I'm not sure if you're using a different email, but yeah, feel free to jump on whenever you can. Excuse me. Oh, and never mind. There he is. But I'll answer your question right quick before letting Man of Tomorrow speak. And that, as far as assortative mating is concerned, I mean, that's something that I've always done. ever since I was a kid. I mean, I was never led to believe, and thankfully, my mom, even though she has some Daggle tendencies about her, she don't really forced me to mate by race.
Yeah.
Granted, maybe it was because I was lighter skinned, she's more dark skinned, and check this out. Same dark skinned chick, my mom, who hated light skinned guys back in the 80s. Probably because of the obvious. Because
so are you biracial?
No. But my dad, actually, my mom. Check this out. My mom's dad, right? My maternal grandfather. He's as light skinned as me and my father. So it's like my mom ends up not liking light-skinned dudes in the 80s because they think they're pretty boys or whatever. But she gets with a light-skinned pretty boy, ends up marrying him, granted for about a year or so. And that dude is my father.
Well, you know what we say about women, you watch what they do, not what they say. That's the classic rule.
Anyway, but she never really cared of me dating outside my race. Hell, she would make some puns and jokes about you're gonna end up being with a white girl or a Japanese girl or something like that. I mean, she'll say that jokingly, but
and your mom's and she's dark skinned.
Yeah, she's dark skinned.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, well, she probably has more pressure on my brother, my youngest brother, dating in or sticking with the black race because he himself is dark skinned. So it's like, oh, keep that legacy going. But he's spoiled as fuck, so it's yeah. But yeah, in any case, no, I was gonna say you have an interesting background living in two SYSBM friendly cities. Well, I like to call SYSBM sanctuary cities in San Diego and Minneapolis. I don't know about Wisconsin. I've heard different.
Wisconsin, well, you know, if you go to the college town, it's the same dynamic, but not in Milwaukee, Racine, and Kenosha. So it's like, you know, everyone knows that, you know, South Wisconsin, it's like it's a whole different country from the rest of Wisconsin. So it's very typical for the Midwest. Like, you know, the urban cities kind of have a concentration of the blacks, and then as soon as you step out of it, it's like a whole nother world. It's like one of those sitcoms on TV or something like that you will see on NBC or something, man. Like if you go to Madison, it's like a whole nother world. Madison, any other colleges like Superior. So you're gonna get that same kind of vibe that you would get in the Twin Cities. That's the difference, you know, because they don't have that concentrated ghetto in the Twin Cities that they do in Wisconsin and Milwaukee, Kenosha, Racine cities.
Okay, nice. That's why I was going to say, was it Madison was the exception, but all right. Yeah. Other than that, look, my next tour, once I go on another road trip, it will be the SYSBM tour. I'm just hitting up all the integrated cities, all the SYSBM friendly cities.
Yeah, that's my plan too. But I'm going west though. See, I'm tired of the Midwest, so I'm hitting up Seattle, Vegas, Phoenix, Denver. I can't wait, bro. I mean, I'm very excited about it, man. Because I was in a relationship, so that's why I didn't leave yet. And you know, when you got a woman that you kind of got that number one, and you kind of get into the investment type of thing. But now it's like I'm just ready to make that move at the end of this year.
Oh yeah! Shout out to Man of Tomorrow, who he himself has been one of the knights of SYSBM, even though he hasn't been sworn in officially by blood. But it doesn't matter as long as you're fighting on the right side. Then that's what's up. OT, what do you guys say?
Hey, what's up, man?
What's up, man?
What's going on, man? This is a fight that they're gonna lose, and I'm gonna be here cheering all the fucking way as I swing this fucking Stormbreaker. Dude, listen, man. Most of these people know they're fucked. They know it. Especially when the people who they never had respect for now has a voice to talk about their shit. Dude, it's over for them, man. It's over for them. And as long as they don't get reparations, they're fucking finished. So now SYSBM is just going to take away all of the marriageable black men who would normally take the fall and be stepdaddy and all this kind of shit. So once you start cutting both of the heads off the snake, which is the millennials are already not fucking with black women, period, regardless of how they fucking look. So they've already done the job there. And so now you got us who are like making sure that this last iteration of people trying to be dating coaches, be the motherfuckers hung out there, hung out to dry. because they're not going to have anybody to sell the shit to. So all you have to do is just keep making sure you keep repeating the shit over and over again. That these people are not to be helped. They are a different group of people. They do not want progress. And they're going to be maggling it up until, there is no more Maggles left. And, dude, progress is going to be great. It's going to be great, man. Because, like I said, man, in Denver, unless it's like extremely older couple, like 50s and 60s, man, you don't see sisters with dudes out there. You don't. You don't see it.
Yeah, I heard about Denver already. So everybody keeps telling me, like, man, you will like Denver a lot. Everyone tells me, they say, you go like Denver, you're going to like Phoenix. And if I want to go a little bit southern to Dallas. So I've been hearing it about Denver for sure.
Yeah. I mean, because black male happiness has never been a thing. Black male quality of life, without thinking about the condition of this woman, has never been a thing.
Is somebody starting to ask why it's being legacy already?
Well, the whole thing, man, it's actually shocking to see the blowback and the pushback from people. When you start talking about black male freedom, it's like, in my real life, it really occurred to me what I was telling Xanatos, that I noticed that in my real life, there's not this issue because obviously we're segregated by our socioeconomic class.
Yeah.
But the internet brings us, because obviously when you go hoop, when you go to the barber shop, you go visit the family, then you're gonna run into these guys. But outside of that, 99% of your life is spent away from them. And when you come into this space, what has happened? You got a lot of these dudes that are online. They got like little Obama Wi-Fi going on, and for some reason they believe that they've earned the right. You know what I'm saying? Like just to attack you for just simply stating that this is how I'm living. This is my perspective on certain sociological conditions. And I don't have any animus towards you or anything like that. But no, I'm not going to sign up for your imaginary community that you haven't built over 60 years, even though you've received well over, what was the black spending power, about $1 trillion per year or something like that. And that's not even including the $500 billion in the black church. So it's like, I don't take these cats serious, bro. Like I just don't, just don't take them serious, man.
You can see how weak they are, because if they had any strength, it would be in their arguments. And this is why I simply say, bunk beds, nigga. Shit.
They gonna need some bunk beds. They gonna need rooming houses too in this motherfucker.
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, dude. They gonna need like tents and all kinds of
tent cities, rooming houses. They gonna need duplexes, everything, man.
I flew to the Midwest and it's fucking snowing out here. I flew from the fucking storm in Colorado. Now I'm fucking out here. The same goofy ass fucking shit, man.
Well, this winter hasn't been all that bad, man. We only got another 4 weeks and we done with this shit. I'm ecstatic about that. That's one of the beauties of living out here, is that as soon as that spring weather hit, man, you just hit downtown, hit up some of these cafes, hit up uptown. That's why I'm saying, like, a lot of the problems that brothers be talking about. See, you're in Denver, so your culture ain't that much different than the Twin Cities or Seattle. So that's why I can tell that these dudes are really being like deprived of beauty.
Yes.
They're being deprived of feminine access, because I'm like, out here, we don't have those problems.
Yes. Sleep with a thin woman. It'll change your life forever.
They don't like, they call a thin woman unattractive out there. Like some of these guys from the South, like they don't like them fit and slim and fit. I don't know, man. So it's been education, it's been an educational experience, being in this space. But I'm glad that now I'm learning how to develop websites, because eventually I'm gonna have my own little blog spot and my own website, and it'll have a forum on there and everything. And I'm hearing other brothers are doing the same thing, and I think that's where this thing is going. I think that's where this thing is gonna go.
And I think that's where it has to go eventually. We're gonna have to separate and stop entertaining with these and that. Look, yeah, it's fun roasting them. I get it. Bringing them up on charges and pretending you're our little people's court of just having one Daggle or one Maggler in there, and everyone else cooking. But as far as time, we can use so much of this time that we're doing to get at the Communitah, doing things that will help us not only ourselves, from this Communitah, shout out SYSBM, but not be affected by the Communitah, whether it's us or our office. That's the most important thing. If we are to have poverty and heirs, we can't have them the next hero talking about some I need to help my people, and you're looking like Barry Manilow. We can't have we can't have them talking about like, oh,
hey, you kind of boring, Xanatos.
Oh, hold on just a second. All right, is this better?
Yeah, you good.
All right, cool. Yeah, as I said, if somebody, one of us gets an African chick, and our sons, we're talking about I'm from Brooklyn, knowing damn well half of your lineage is Lego, and the other half is from some SYSBM Hayden. Don't pull that crap. We can't have our progeny being suckered back into Ado's struggle undergrad, which is one of the things that we're going to need to do and ensure once we really start making moves and strategizing. And there's background noise, by the way. Yo, Sigma, is that you?
I don't think it's me.
I think it is him. It's all good. But yeah, as far as that's concerned, that's what we're gonna have to do. We're gonna have to make sure that whatever the Communitah does doesn't touch us, doesn't touch our money, doesn't touch our reputation, and for those who want to live a more hedonistic lifestyle, doesn't touch our Becky supply or Maylane or Selenia supply. And two, for those who are more serious, it doesn't touch our money, doesn't touch our children, doesn't touch our marriages. Because a lot of people want to point out this interracial marriage stat of all the black men is leading in divorces with white women. Well, yeah, thanks to all the Daggles and alt-righters and society at large pressuring these two groups and telling each group in their ear not to be with each other. This is rigged. So American society,
which is going to make them want to be with each other even more. Like recruiting arm for fucking SYSBM by talking a whole bunch of stupid shit about it. Like think about it. Today, who the fuck would you want to live around who has had criticism toward SYSBM? What group of those men who you actually would want to fucking live?
Zero.
Yeah.
Exactly. And do you all mind if I bring another guest on here?
All right, man.
All right. So we got the Geo Scholar here. He's been in the chat room. I trust him enough that I'll bring him on for as a special guest appearance. How's it going? All right. While he gets together, yeah. As far as SYSBM is concerned and the critics, I mean, look, all the critics have shown their cards, whether overtly or covertly. A lot of these are using one, if not multiple, or fit into one, if not multiple reasons why the Maggles and Bebe's kids cape for these Daggles and Bebe's and the Communitah. It's because they're relying on the Communitah. It's because they're relying on this Bebe kid. It's because without this Communitah in its current state, and the Daggle in its current state, that these guys would be incels. These guys would be the real incels. I'm just saying. And that's what they're afraid of. They don't want to reach that incel status where it's like, oh, the Communitah became the community, and Daggles decided to be cooperative women who will actually choose good men based on what they can produce. And I mean, instead of destruction, it's production that makes them wet. Instead of shucking and jiving, it's working hard and smart that makes them select. I mean, come on. What else can you ask for?
Okay. No, at this point, like SYSBM is about putting male happiness first. This is why we don't give a fuck about what women think. This is why staying away from this person who's been poisoned by this system, unless they actually do want to follow men, which is very rare, but I would kind of tend on the side to say this shit is damn near impossible. Like, I don't want to give self-improved people to people who haven't done shit with their fucking life, man. That is extremely fucking dumb and stupid, and I don't want to fall into that fucking trap of doing goofy shit like that. Because it doesn't make any sense overall. It just don't.
Well, we've reached a point, man. Like I said, it's interesting when you read like some of the sociological writings in regards to assortative mating. They actually say that the United States is number one now, because as quiet as it's kept, man, the last 30 years we've moved towards that model versus like a racial genetic dating model where more and more people are, marrying and dating people that they have the same kind of job as, went to the same school as,
Yep.
and running the same kind of circles. Whereas there was this wall that said that, hey, you got to be with someone that's racial. But what has happened is that as the income gap has grown within Black America from like the top 5% of Blacks to the next level of the next 20%, then there's another jump. And then it's like this massive group of people that are dependent on women, and they're at that negative $5 net worth. And that's just what it is. Like, there's no stopping this, bro. This thing was put in play in the late 60s. It's no stopping it at this point. So everyone that's like attacking Black men, that's just expressing their preferences, they're only letting you know how desperate they are to get you to buy into their program, to the point where they're even, taking it to a point where they would like to believe that they're going to create some kind of like Kenyatta's last stand Black Panthers army over the next decade, and that they're going to like do like a military overthrow of Washington or something. These people are just insane at this point, man.
Look, and shout out to Action Jackson with the $5 super chat. Shout out to the panel, SYSPM to death, indeed. And before I get to the Geo Scholar, you mentioned an interesting thing about how a lot of these people in the Communitah think they're gonna build up this quote unquote army to go after, the palm color people or the clear people within the next 5 years and march up to Washington and do some million-man march with weapons. I mean, like, look.
The 100 nigga army, pretty much.
Exactly. And all they're going to do at most is throw rocks at Chinese or Asian beauty salons. That's all they're going to do. And we all saw how that worked up there in Philadelphia. But, yeah, as far as these mediocre Negroes, these babies kids are concerned, I mean, if anything, what they might do is make somewhat of a hot war against thinking Black men. I'd watch out for these fools within the next few years as shit really goes down, as the cuts really get put into play, as the Federal Reserve world reserve currency status is at jeopardy for the U.S. greenback, and that these guys, if they launch a war, they aren't going to go after the so-called oppressor. They're going to oppress those who don't fit into the Negro script, who don't play into the Negro script,
I don't see it. I'm gonna tell you why I don't see it. I'm gonna tell you, like, that theory, if it was like under the old model where we didn't have gentrification, I would agree. But here's how it's working out, man. If you look at like the way that the United States, urban America, is gentrifying now, the people that you're referring to are actually being pushed into like more and more concentrated areas where they can't get to urban America anymore. It's almost like a modern day Native American reservation thing. And, with Trump almost guaranteed to win in a landslide and more Black men actually moving towards libertarianism, we talk about this Democrat thing, we talk about the Republicans, but the truth is no one talks about the fact that a large majority of Black men, almost 8%, voted for the Libertarian Party, bro. And a lot of them didn't vote at all. That's telling of what's coming over the next decade. See what has happened. Black men realize that no one has their interest, and they're going to move more and more towards a libertarian way of thinking, a more self-sufficiency model, a do-it-yourself model, and they're going to be far away from these people. If we did get the scenario where you mentioned, where the dollar collapsed, you pretty much got a situation where they would create like a bank holiday, martial law. But more importantly, Black men will be gone by that time, bro. Like most Black men that you're referring to, they're like you. How you already are speaking about that, they already know the same things that you know. They know about the bank, the Fed. They know about that. So more than likely, they will probably be somewhere in Germany or somewhere by that time.
Shout out to those guys. Geo Scholar, if you want to hop back on, I know you probably was fixing your mic. It's all good, but yeah. Anyone else who wants to get on is Mr. Pumpkin though. You all recognize him? He sounds somewhat familiar.
I've seen Mr. Pumpkin up in quite a few streams. I never talked to him though.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, if you want, feel free to send me the an email at his email address, and then I'll send him the link. But yeah, good thing you talked about the libertarian uprising for Black American men specifically, because yeah. But yeah, as far as I've always been more libertarian myself, as I said, fiscally conservative, socially just live and let live. I mean, that's why I said if I had to buy property in one state, it would have to be a coin flip between Arizona and Nevada, because those are the two, along with Colorado too. Those are like the three states I would be amped to buy property in at first, because one, alongside the fact that those states are more libertarian than anything else. Two, those states, I mean, yeah, every state has its history, but compared to your typical state, especially where these Maggles and these pro-wax and these Bebe kids are from, or they're telling you to go to, these three states in particular aren't states that have a lot of history when it comes to animosity towards Black men, honestly. I mean, did you really have to have sit-ins in Denver and Vegas and Phoenix like that? Yeah, there were some things like the casinos not allowing Blacks in some hotels, and the MLK debacle back in the late 80s, something like that. But yeah, other than that, it's been pretty smooth sailing compared to a lot of the rest of the country. Might say, oh, bless you. I might say New Mexico. I'll be honest, it's probably more libertarian than anything else in the mainland. But to be honest, there isn't much in New Mexico. Oh, are you all right?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. And as Alaska, yeah, it's cool, but it's freezing like damn near all year. And Hawaii, super expensive and super isolated. But I mean, you can't go wrong in those states neither.
See, that's what I see. Like, I see a lot of Black men moving out to cities like Albuquerque, Salt Lake City, and a lot of these places that, Black people have not tended to go to. But I think a lot of the more free-thinking brothers that have their money right, they're going to be moving out to these places, because the name that I keep hearing the term is digital nomad. You got more and more Black men engaged in the digital nomad lifestyle. And even in these spaces, we've started to create like our own little, do-it-yourself think tanks where we're pushing each other to learn second languages, learn the fourth industrial skills. And I think that's what makes this Black male YouTube space unique. You talk about Black men that are coming from like red pill orientations or whatnot. We're starting to understand that we're going to have to do it ourselves. Like, we have to get out of the failure think mentality. And I mean, like, I'm talking about as of yesterday, like that whole feminine way of complaining and I'm a victim. It's not going to work anymore, bro. Our grandparents got us as far as they can get us with that strategy of engaging politics and engaging the corporations. We now have to literally do it by force. And what I mean by force is that we have to master the skills and the technology of today and become so good at it that they don't know where we disappeared to. Like, what happened to all those Black people that used to be out in the street protesting? Oh, they're creating their own tech hubs. They're creating their own tech companies. They're buying up land. They're building their own communities. We got to get to that level in this coming age, man. Seriously, I'm not even joking with you.
Yeah, and as I said, once I get the money, then I'll probably, if I can do the digital nomad in the States, as I said, get a winter home in Vegas and get a summer home in Salt Lake, and I'll be fine. I'll be straight. But shout out to the Geo Scholar. What's going on?
Hey, Xanatos, what's up?
Is your mic working? All right, there you go. There you go. What's good?
Hey, what's up? Like your streams.
Well,
hey, what's good?
What's up, Sigma?
So,
I'm good, man. Just joining in, chiming in a little bit tonight, man. How are you doing?
Doing all right. Xanatos, I was just going back and forth with Sigma a few minutes back. Of owning land, something that I've been thinking about. I think one of the things that I think Black people ought to do more of is buy land, because land's going to be one of the most valuable assets you're going to have.
Yeah, I completely agree. Now, I'll be honest. I know little about land purchases. I think MOT especially knows, and King Sigma probably knows more than me. As I said, I'll be honest, I've been a filthy renter for damn near all my life. So, I mean, with that,
I've actually been a renter. I mean, I'm into stuff like that. I study a lot of the realty, but for me, it's actually been cheaper to be a renter because, again, like I'm a minimalist. I like having cash, but as far as an investment, investing in land and REITs is that's gonna be the next wave. But me, even if I bought land, I probably wouldn't even live on it because I'm so much of a urbanite that I actually love living in the city. I like the mixture of people. I like the noises. I like the sounds. And there's so much development in my cities. For example, I mean, it's like every week they're throwing up another luxury apartment building, condominium building. So it just becomes really convenient. But as far as investments, definitely the land. But for me, I'm not really a country boy like that. You know what I'm saying? Like I like the city life. So for me, it'd be more of an investment. But I'm a city boy, man. I like places like New York,
Damn.
But there was one thing I wanted to mention. X, it's interesting that you mentioned something about like the black redneck culture. I have been reading a bit about Thomas Howell, and that the ghetto culture, the hood rat culture, a lot of that comes out of the redneck culture, specifically, black redneck culture. That's basically what it is.
Yeah, I completely agree.
And here's the other thing, man. It's like you can get along just fine without any of that bullshit around. And this is what black men are figuring out, is that you can still be black and your blackness is worth a hell of a lot more than it is around Bumquisha now. Anywhere else but the fucking Communitah.
And here's the thing, just to add to MOT's point. I mean, the one, blackness, whiteness, all this racist, it's all a social construct. It's amazing that the left wants to give every other group of individuals, they'll say everything else is a social construct but race. You can change your gender. You can change your identity. You can identify as a flying helicopter kill streak, but don't change your mind about race. That is not a social construct whatsoever. I have not.
Race. Well, within the American context, it isn't just a social construct; it's also a legal construct. So that's why everything when it relates to like black or complex system in dealing with the indigenous Africans that they brought over here. You said what?
Hey, Xanatos, I got to run to the store real quick. Let me get back. All right.
All right.
MOT. Yeah. So you got to keep in mind that it's not just sociological; it's also legal, and the legal history is what makes it so unique because of how Black Americans were designated by law. It's that legal definition that was created by state law, federal law, and then also through the common law that makes what we call the Native Black American so unique, man. And that's why you're gonna have a hard time with the social construction piece because of that history. But what is happening is that's why you're starting to see them use the term people of color more and more, because they're trying to dilute the term Native Black American, and that's why you have a lot of Black Americans pushing back as far as like the lineage piece. But it's gonna probably solve itself in the sense that you have so much biracial mating going on that it's probably gonna solve itself in about 25, 30 years, man.
Yeah, and I mean, right now, I'll be honest. No, go ahead.
Sorry if I'm interrupting here. I didn't mean to. But yeah, there is one thing I did want to mention. I think about this a lot, and you talk about, I know in some of your videos you talked about like going somewhere and getting away from the undertow, the underbelly, and the underclass, and just your mind is going places. one of the things I've really thought about were all the exodusters, black former slaves who went out to places like Kansas, places out in the Great Plains. Some of them even built little towns for themselves, places like Nicodemus, Kansas. I think about that, and I think about that legacy. You had people who had just come out of slavery and they wanted to go somewhere and build for themselves.
Exactly. That's a fact, and that's why they say history repeats itself.
And I think about that.
It's. Go ahead.
Keep going.
Yeah, go ahead.
But I just think about that legacy, and I think about today. I think about today. We have it so much better today because we are free to just go anywhere we want to go and do whatever we want to do, however we want to do it. And you have thinking black men out there who, it's like where we want. We're not limited to just our neighborhood or just where we live. We can go anywhere we want. So it's like, this is why I say, save your money. Go out there, buy that piece of land, go get your palace. I think about the movie Cool Runnings, where you had the Sanka Coffee. He's making fun of Yul Brenner. It's a movie about Jamaican bobsled racers, but he's making fun of one of his teammates for wanting to for himself. And then who's like, you know what? He can go out there. If he works hard and he knows what he wants, eventually he's going to get it. And he just tells him, go get your palace. And I think about what that's really about. It's like, if we work hard, if you work hard, if you really think about what you want and you know what you want and you're willing to work for it, you're eventually going to go get it. And it's like, we can go anywhere we want. You can go anywhere. So it's the reasons I find it very important why we should be buying land, why we should be going, this is why I say it's a good idea to go out west, go out to places like Colorado, New Mexico, Washington State. You don't have, geographically, we're not limited. So I say, don't be afraid. Just go out there.
And the reason why I mentioned those states specifically, as you know, and salutes to the Thinking Black Man, Nick Penn, $4.99 super chat, shout out to him. The reason why I say those places, along with the fact that they have a lot of ample land, it's because they have a lack of Daggledom and Maggledom. A lot of places that have a concentration of Daggles, Maggles, Bebe's kids, whatever you want to call them, they tend to bring the worst out of people, whether it's the worst within the black race of the obvious, or the worst within the non-black race of just plain discrimination and just them not wanting anything to do with blacks in general. Because I can tell you right now, it's a difference coming from Salt Lake City to the Bay Area, in which in Salt Lake, there's a 2% black population, but a lot of blacks who were there, they were there for a reason. Whether they were there for a job, were there for the military, or were there for school or to play for the Jazz. But they were there for a reason. And along with the uniqueness of blacks in the state of Utah, the fact that we didn't have a lot of Daggle class, a segregated underclass, really helped. And when it came to dealing with people, even Mormons, in the sense that I didn't have the instant shield and fear from the non-black population. Even with some Mormons, if they didn't like me, chances are they didn't like me because I was non-LDS versus the fact that I was black. And with that, I could live with, honestly. If anything, religion's a choice. So what if I wasn't able to go into some of the more elaborate, extravagantly decorated temples and partake in some of their secret festivals? I mean, it didn't bother me too much. But as far as that's concerned, compare that to the Bay Area, where I am right now, where I hate to say it, the image of the black man in the Bay Area is Oakland, East Oakland, West Oakland. And if you go into Oakland, yeah, it's getting gentrified. But I hate to say it, but it seems like the blacks they're kicking out are the hardworking blacks who used to live here. And because you still have the riffraff, you still have the Daggles, you still have the Maggles. It runs around rampantly. A lot of people who come here, particularly the non-blacks who come here, specifically the liberal whites, they tend to ignore it and trying to sell it as if it's part of culture, which really insults me, by the way, to the point which I just lump them in at best as ignorant, as at worst covert racist. Because if they think that waking up every day to some boombox at best, driving through the street, I mean, don't even start it.
See, that's one of the reasons why, like, I felt that black men had to put their own unique spin on libertarianism as well, because a lot of libertarians are open borders, and open borders have had like a tremendous impact on black working class men, especially in states like California. But that's one of the reasons why I'm not for open borders, because California is like a case study in like leftist chaos, man. Like that state is just insane right now. Like they've already passed a law that's going to be overruled at the Supreme Court, saying that all their corporations have to have 50% women on them, just arbitrarily, which is just the stupidest unconstitutional ruling ever. I read something where they're saying that they're automatically going to register people to vote. And so it's like a very communist thing going out there. And it's funny because they're such hypocrites, like you said, where they talk all this leftist stuff and egalitarianism, but at the end of the day, the black people out there are suffering more than anybody.
Exactly. And the homeless population, you touched on it. A lot of other people have touched on it. Like half of the homeless population are not just black, but black men specifically.
Yep, way overrepresented. LA, San Francisco, like they're overrepresented. And when you add in black boys who get it a little bit better because they get help with the mom, it would be like 7 out of 10 homeless would either be a black man or a black boy in America. That is insane. It's and I heard Dr. Ben Carson talking about it because he's the secretary of HUD, and he was saying how like he gets the most hatred from these leftist social justice warrior white people when he's trying to like kick out illegal immigrants, because there was a program in place where illegal immigrants were getting preferential treatment for Section 8 and public and subsidized housing. And I'm like, what? So they were actually getting preferential treatment over Native Black American people. And it's like, everything is so backwards that I'm actually glad that what's happening to the Democratic Party is happening to them, because I want everything just to implode. Sometimes you need just to like blow up the whole thing and start over. And I think that's what's going on with the Democratic Party right now. It's going on with the Republicans, because Donald Trump just basically did a coup, because he's not even a traditional Republican. So he's like this dude that he pretty much just does whatever he wants to do. And I see the same thing kind of happening with the Democrats right now, because again, how can you win if your party depends on black people, but you don't even mention black people? Literally, black people can compromise the majority of the Democratic Party. And I've watched every debate, as boring as it's been. They don't even mention black Americans, dude. Not even black women anymore. They usually would mention black women sometimes, but now the last 3 debates, they haven't even mentioned black women. And you know how much they pander to them.
And it's sad when you don't even mention that demographic of women or demographic of people. I mean, obviously, we don't expect them to do anything for black men. The last thing the Democrats did for black men involved 3 strikes. And we all know how that ended up. And obviously, that started here in California, nonetheless.
Well, they want to disarm us. That's what Bloomberg said. He says that he wants to disarm black men.
There's just one thing I
dudes.
wanted to mention, Xanatos. There's one thing I wanted to mention. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm trying to let. It's interesting that you had mentioned something about how like there is a lot of gentrification and how like a lot of the hard working black.
Yeah, you're sort of cutting up.
My dad is born and raised in Milwaukee. Yeah, sorry. One thing I wanted to mention.
Yeah, you're sort of cutting off.
My dad's born and raised. I think you're cutting off as well. I don't know what's happening.
All right, so King Sigma
Can
has
you hear
been
me
going
now?
into work. Yeah.
Yeah, you're cutting out, man. You have to go out and come back in.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll let you back in, but yeah, you may have to.
Yeah, usually what you have to do is like you have to go in and then come all the way. You can go out and then come all the way back in, or either reboot your computer because that's StreamYard is still in its beta mode.
Yeah, and you know what? I've been looking to do Zooms.
I'll get out and then.
Okay.
Got you, bro. Yeah, Zoom. I heard about it. I like StreamYards. It's a good technology. Some people like Zoom, but I just stick with StreamYards for now. But I'm going to move more towards a upload format eventually. Do you listen to people like Black Pigeon Speaks and Replicant Fish and guys like that?
I haven't heard of those guys.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they're guys. They're huge, man. And all they do is like uploads, like 25, 30-minute uploads. And they have, massive followings, massive engagement. And I kind of want to move more towards that model for like 90% of what I'm doing because I kind of like that, just putting out my narrative and, kind of letting people just give me their comments and then do panels as a follow-up to the upload going in the future. Because I just reached a point, man, like, honestly, I'm like very fatigued having the same conversations over and over because it's almost like a remedial thing. It's like these people are not serious, man. No matter how much proof you give them, they move the goalpost. So it'll be something like, I'll give an example. They'll say, well, you're not dating Black women. And then you'll be like, well, my girlfriend's Black. Well, she's not ADOS Black. Okay, but she's Black and she's darker than all of your girlfriends who are half ADOS, So it's like you get into these circular conversations. And it was one thing when I first came into this space in 2018. But now after 2 years, man, I'm fatigued, man. It's just, I don't know how these brothers do it. Like every day, it's like the same conversation. You know what I'm saying? It's the same conversation repeated. Man, guys are doing 15-hour live streams on Zoom, 24-hour live. I'm like, yo, the internet is crazy, bro. Like it's a whole nother level of insanity. So for me, that's kind of where I want to move things, man. Like I said, assortative mating, that's going to solve that problem in regards to the Black men that have any complaints about Black America still. They're going to move to a point where they're not even going to talk about it, even from just like a commentary standpoint. They're going to be moving on to like business topics, real estate, travel. That's where it's going,
And that's where it has to go at this point, because if we want to be taken serious, then we're going to have to talk about some serious stuff. And playing around with these Bebe's kids and these all these other individuals, I mean, how's that going to make us look? But yeah,
they pretty much like tarnished the Black image so badly at this point, man. We can only go up from here. But then I thought that until I saw Dwayne Wade parading around his use. I don't know. I don't even know what to call him anymore. But paraded him around and, all for a check, man. What these dudes do, they get themselves in so much debt. So they have to maintain that image. They have to maintain that lifestyle. So they have to bend the knee to Hollywood and its degenerate culture. And so you get a guy like Dwayne Wade, like they're just like, take my son. I need that check because I can't be seen on TV. Because you ever thought about how like Adrian Peterson and Kevin Garnett, man, end up in bankruptcy and they made all that money, man? Mm-hmm. Like Adrian Peterson, this dude was bankrupt before he even retired. Like he played last year, but he was already bankrupt. Most of them wait about 2 years, like Garnett did. Man, that dude had made like 130 million over his career, and this dude went bankrupt. It's like, so what happens to these dudes? They live like a certain lifestyle where they don't understand that it's better to buy Coach stock than Coach purses, right? So they're maintaining this lifestyle and they don't think it's ever going to end, and they retire and it's all gone. So that's when these guys come along in Hollywood like, yo, I heard that you were kind of broke. Why don't you put on this dress, or why don't you castrate yourself and promote this ideology and this lifestyle? And if you do so, we'll give you like a job as a reporter or like, on TNT or something. It's just sick, man. Sick stuff.
Hey, did you see that? What was that guy, the freaking Dozier, who dressed up for the Oscars?
Yeah, I saw that fool, man.
Yeah.
I mean, but like I'm saying, like it's so transparent what their agenda is that it doesn't even surprise me at all anymore. And what I found is that I don't know if you ever listen to people like Jordan Maxwell, William Cooper, who wrote Behold the Pale Horse. I used to really be deep into that type of stuff, man. And so I can take it to like that level, but I try to keep it on more of a practical level. But it's a lot of stuff that goes on in terms of how they have to like groom people in order to control. Because anyone that's ever done any research in the history, you would always have to ask yourself, how does a small, less than 10% of the population own 90% of all the wealth? And also, how do they control millions of people? And they control them through, you know, certain programs where if you want to be in the 10%, you have to, you know, you have to do what you're told to do. And you operate as like the false idols by which they manage the rest of the population. That's why that whole thing with Gayle King and Oprah really triggered so many people, because she has been like a puppet for certain ideas for a whole generation now. And to see that the masses that she used to have like this mind control over, and the boomers and the Gen X, she doesn't have that control over the younger people anymore. You see what I'm saying? Well, to answer Sir Kirky's question is that, yeah, I mean, I wasn't referring specifically to him as like a model himself. I was referring to the fact that he does uploads and he makes all that, you know, he gets like 50,000 views and stuff like that. And I think a lot more Black men will start actually going to that format now, because it seems like live stream is where all the conflicts are at. You know, that's where all the conflicts is at. That's where you're having these cats that, you know, come in and they want to just argue over nothing. It's not even like no real debate, because it's not in good faith. They never bring any kind of like statistical evidence. They don't read. And it's just, man, it's like, this thing is really like, being in this space has really opened my eyes to how I live in a bubble being out here. Because all the brothers that I know out here, they're not having these problems, because again, there's so much options as far as like, you know, the Black women out here, the immigrants out here, the white women, the Asian, that we even getting a more of an influx of Latinos. So it's just not this relationship thing is not a problem. Jobs are plentiful out here. Schools are plentiful out here. You know, our cost of living has gone up. You know, one bedroom hits you for about $1,200, $1,300, but
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, that's not nothing compared to California or the coastal. So that's kind of how I see things, man. And coming to this space made me realize how much of a bubble that I'm in, you know, where they have so much emotional investment in these conversations. For me, it's more of a commentary thing, man. It's more of a commentary. It's more of a barbershop type of thing. But for them, it's literally their livelihood and their lives at stake here, man.
Yeah, exactly. As far as what you said, a lot of these celebrities are bought and paid for from the jump. They're here to push an agenda. And if that agenda has anything to do with making Black men to a positive role model, or having a positive Black image, or making Black men human, then they have a target on their backs at the very least. And even if you are one of these Black men who does the shuck and jive role and the jive turkey rap role, then yeah, you'll be fine as long as you stick to that piece, as long as you stick to your lane. But you step outside the zone that they have for you, and then that's when people really start getting triggered. For example, this Snoop Dogg incident that I've been tracking as of late. He was cooking Gayle King, for her basically slandering Kobe Bryant right when he was getting buried. Him, his daughter, for that matter, Gianna, and all the other victims. But she couldn't even wait until the guy was officially buried before bringing it up past false allegations. And obviously Snoop Dogg, I guess being a homie, he's going to stick up for his boy. I get that. But apparently Susan Rice, from my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, Susan Rice decided to go after Snoop Dogg, and then all of a sudden now he's cowering down.
Yeah, that was ugly. You know, I did a live stream on that, and it crossed over to I think 13,000 views yesterday or this morning or something. So yeah, the commentary that I produced on Snoop Dogg actually hit about 13,000 views, and so I had been following that very closely, and I was very disappointed that he did the apology thing. But again, it was one of those situations where the genie was already out of the bottle, and there were a lot of people that went viral speaking on that Gayle King, Snoop Dogg, Suzanne Rice beef, and so it's too late. But what really stood out to me about the Suzanne Rice thing, and I don't see how more people weren't talking about that, is that you had a situation where you had a former U.S. ambassador, okay? A U.S. ambassador currently sitting on the board of Netflix, because you know how Obama's connected with Netflix, so he hired her. She's on the board of Netflix right now, and she's also a professor at American University. Can you imagine if you flip the gender, let alone the race, but just flip the gender? Can you imagine a black man that was sitting on the board of Netflix, that used to be a U.S. ambassador, and that's currently a professor at American University, going after like Gabrielle Union, let's say, as a black Hollywood celebrity type, and actually having their job the next day?
Oh, having his job the next day, oh, it would be a shit show for him. He'd be finished.
Making a threat, bro. Hold on, Xanatos. We're not, now you're a libertarian leaning guy. We're talking about a government official that used to be in charge of the NSA threatening a private citizen. A sitting professor, sitting on the Netflix board. That's what I mean when I say that this whole Western thing in America is just dissolving on itself, bro. Like, there's so much cultural rot, so much corruption, so much debt, no mission statement, no cultural compass, that it can only like disintegrate into itself. And so when I saw the situation with Suzanne Rice, it also let me know that we have power. You and I, MOT, the brother Gio, everyone in the chat and the viewers, we are the power, because the only power that celebrities have is their influence over the masses. Okay? That's it.
Exactly. And whatever we have at our arsenal should be used to the best of our abilities, two, the most efficient way, and three, for a purpose that helps our overall reputation. That's one of the reasons why I made my channel a few years ago, in order to counter the narrative of how every black dude who gets on here is some bumbling or shucking jiving or roasting or a coon hunting kind of crap. Because when I was on here, particularly, I like to call this I like to call what we're in right now Manosphere 3.0, particularly with the O'Sheas and the Obsidians, Angermans, Mr. Chaps. You guys, I would classify as 4.0, but 2.0, I'd classify that in Tommy Sotomayor. And around his area, he was sort of a lone wolf, in the sense that he didn't work with a lot of people, or if he ever did work with people, they will always fall out for one reason or another. And a lot of people who were on the black sector YouTube, you were the individuals who spoke up against Tommy, whether it's because they wanted clout or because they were legitimately triggered and were one of these Bebe's kids who basically just were caping for the Daggles and the Communitah for the reasons I mentioned earlier. I came on here in a time and a place where you didn't have a lot of thinking black men standing up, voicing their own opinion, or the ones that were here were driven off, like your with Soul and Blacks, your even Sergeant Willie Pete's, although it's like, or especially your Avenue Rants. Shout out to him. If Avenue Rants ever sees this, the Black Manosphere, man,
I consider myself to be a part of the anti-black misandry sector and the free movement sector. One of the things that I like about SYSBM and Passport Bros is that people don't know it, but they've actually created their own sectors now, and they're building their own platforms off of YouTube. So that's, I think that SYSBM and I think that free movement is becoming its own sector, because you got a lot of black men that are promoting that idea of freedom of choice, freedom of movement, traveling, doing whatever you choose to do as long as you're not harming anyone. And I think that that's becoming its own sector. And that's where a lot of the conflicts comes from as well, is that they're seeing that SYSBM is peeled off into its own sector with its own content creator, with its own following, with its own agenda. And then you have Passport Bros. They don't even like talking about America in particular. They more want to talk about just strictly travel and stuff. Like, I want to go to this country, I'm learning this other language. That's their whole thing. And I think that's how it's expanded too.
Yeah. And I don't blame those guys for talking about wanting to travel outside the country, wanting to travel to foreign lands. As far as foreign lands and traveling, I'm the kind of individual that when I travel, I want to actually travel for at least a week or so in one spot at a time. I don't want to be like one of those individuals who have to do a weekend trip here, weekend trip there, that sort of thing. And what I'm also fearing is that I'm going to love a place so much that I don't want to go back. And that's the thing with me. If you're going to be one of those travel individuals who's going to go by, I'm going to leave this place, I'm going to leave America, and then just go to another place, you got to make sure that you have at least 1 foot in. Because what's the use if, you're in heaven for like even a week or so, but you got to come back to America.
See, that's why I was saying that, like, the people that are living that digital nomad life, that understand Bitcoin, and they're the ones that have that beautiful advantage, because they can literally make money anywhere as long as they have like Wi-Fi. So that is true. You go out there and you're in heaven, and then you got to come back. That's tough, man. That's a downer.
Yeah, and as I said, I truly support those guys, all the guys who are digital nomads. As I always said, look, if you're a black man who wants to defeat quote unquote white supremacy, then get yourself some sort of skill, trade, or degree that will allow you to become a digital nomad to the point in which you can live anywhere across the world. There you go. White supremacy is not a fact.
and then, even with that whole thing with the white supremacy, when you start actually doing the research and looking at like how the Asian countries have come up, ASEAN, and how they're competing and how they're like surpassing everyone. They're surpassing Europe. They're surpassing the Americans in terms of like everything related to science. It's a joke at this point. You can only have supremacy when you don't have India with nukes, and you don't have China with nukes. And, once you have all these other competing groups with their own cultural and national identity, and they all have nukes, and they're leading in those industries, and they've hijacked all the intellectual property, and they're actually doing it better than you are. You don't have a supremacy like that. What you have is more of a what's the term? Like a multipolar kind of supremacy now. So it's like there is no supremacy anymore. Supremacy is whoever can have a nuclear weapon, basically. You know what I'm saying? Like whoever has a nuclear weapon, but also dominates in the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And we know that at least 5 or 6 Asian countries are in there. And guess what? Once China kicks the United States out of like Taiwan, they got Hong Kong back, and Japan is right there. Once they really dominate that South China Sea thing, it's really going to become a multipolar world. And so these people that are still stuck on like this idea of like this unilateral thing that the United States can just defy all rules internationally, those days are gone, man. You even see the way that like the Middle Eastern countries are bucking back now. You saw what happened with Iran.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're not just sitting down and saying, "Oh, bring your white supremacy over here." No. They're making deals with like, you got Iran. People don't understand how connected Iran is with like, Russia, Syria, a lot of these countries, because of things that the United States did to those people back in the 70s, as far as like, assassinating their leaders, overthrowing their countries. They have a lot of hatred towards like the United States government and so-called white supremacy, and they're not taking it sitting down anymore.
And just to analyze on this, I was told that for these countries and for these individuals who are in these countries, that a lot of them recognize the game that they're pulling on Black Americans. And that is to say that for those few brave souls who went to places like Iran and parts of Russia, China, India, that especially the Middle East, like
they fuck with us over there, man. They just don't fuck with white Americans like that.
Yeah, you just jumped the gun. You just jumped the gun.
Hold on, what is Frank Harris talking about? He says there will be a war. What is he talking about, man?
Okay, all right. Somebody really.
What is he talking about? He said there will be a war. What are you talking about, Frank?
Spamming, dude. He's spamming.
So like, what do you want to do with this? I want to see if he what is he talking about? Like before, are you gonna like eject? Because like I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? You said there will be a war. What war?
Well,
India, Brazil, and the EU are the only countries with the potential to become superpower. Well, actually, I disagree. I feel like China, now that they have the biggest economy and now that they have like the colonial operation going on in Africa, I think that we should not underestimate China at all. So I don't know, Frank Harris, what are you talking about, man? You said there will be a war. What are you talking about?
He's at Civil War.
A civil war between who?
Oh my goodness, I don't know this crap. Anyway,
All right, my bad, man. I didn't know if he was responding.
Frank Harris and Kevin Richard. Why do they have the same color? I'm like,
Yeah, they got like the same egg.
It's like, I'm about to time both of these guys out for just double trolling. It's like, and they like one guy talks and the other guy, and one guy. I think it's the same.
And they came up with the same color. That's like odd as hell. Like they're like they don't have no avatar, but they have like this silhouette and this pink. I mean, it's like I don't know, man. I be wondering about cats sometimes and the amount of time they have on their hands, man.
You see, Mods, take these both of them to the penalty box, which is what I like to call timeout. But MOT, as you were saying, go on ahead. What were you about to say?
Yeah, man, like, dude, we are loved everywhere because we're the only ones who are still here, who went up against this so-called imperial power and still fuck with us, dude. Like, you can go to other countries, get like credit and all types of shit as a black American that white motherfuckers would never be able to get, dude. Never be able to get. Because they know at the end of the day, if you create an actual system to where people get progressed, we're going to fucking excel. There's no place on the planet that has like an equal education system where people have a fair chance of shit that black people don't outperform everybody. It's always been that way. So people do actually want to see us over there. I mean, they don't know about the nigga shit, and like most niggas don't travel anyway. So when you go over there, you're always gonna be looked at like a decent fucking human being. And this is why most white guys don't like traveling, because they don't like feeling that goddamn thunder of that shit. They don't like that shit. They like it over here where they so-called are winning. And this is why most white guys don't like traveling, man. Because they feel that fucking thunder over there and they do not fucking like it. They fucking hate it.
Well, I think that's also been part of like the propaganda as well that's been really, played against black men, is that so you already have like the greater society, trying to make you afraid of going overseas. So they have all this propaganda, oh, it's this dangerous here, but yet they're the same ones that go over to these countries, intermarry. They love bragging about how they have this souvenir from here, souvenir from there. But if you was to listen to the news, you would think that anywhere outside of America is like a war zone and America is paradise. But then it's even worse when you have like, other black folks trying to stop you from experiencing these other cultures. And, it's just insane, man. I really feel like I woke up in the twilight zone sometimes when I actually listen to these people, man. If it wasn't for David Carroll, I would have been left this space, man. It was listening to him that brought this whole thing into like perspective for me, man. If it wasn't for him, I would have been left this area of YouTube a long time ago, because I only landed here by accident, because I was only here like doing business channels and documentary channels and kind of just found this place by accident. But if it, David Carroll kind of saved my opinion, because I was like, yo, if this is what it is, you Native black men, y'all finished, man. Like I'm talking about like you are finished.
Yeah. And that's a good thing that MOT brought up. I was just meandering, which something he just said bluntly. And that, we need to really consider our options just in case a Richard Spencer kind of figure becomes president of the United States, whether it's on the Democrat or the Republican side, whether it's the SJW leftists or the alt-righters who get a candidate in there. I hate to say it, but what happened in the 1930s with a particular group of people in Germany can easily happen to blacks, especially black men in the United States. Slowly it's sort of been like that for since the dawn of this country. But it can, like, what I think is happening right now is that they are trying to push this ADOS underclass black redneck culture so much that everyone believes that we're all like that, to the point in which they can prop someone like a Richard Spencer, Matt Forney, some clown character of that nature to have a high-ranking position in the office, if not the president of the United States. And then he just outright takes all sorts of rights away from black men. Hell, I've even had these Daggles talk about, I've heard these Daggles talk about how they want to get Asian and Latino and white men to recall miscegenation laws for black men. Not for black women, but just against black men. But to be honest, I can see something as crazy as that happening, considering the fact that the masses, or lowercase m, capital everything else, m asses, are basically dominating the space and the voice of Black America, mainly because they're allowed to. I think this is all for one big blow that they're planning down the line. And it's important for us to realize that if it ever comes down to it, that there are countries that we, especially as thinking Black men, can go to in order to get away from the blowback and just the ground zero that I think is eventually or will eventually become the U.S. Because, yeah, we can talk about all these SYSBM sanctuary cities like Denver, Seattle, San Diego, Portland, Minneapolis, wherever, even Salt Lake and Boise and Albuquerque. But those cities pale in comparison to your New Yorks, your Chicagos, your Atlantas, your Bostons, your DCs, even your Los Angeleses and San Francisco, Bay Area, where I'm sorry, a lot of those places are how a lot of Americans think. And a lot of those cities do not have a good image and reputation of Black men.
No, they don't. Yeah, I mean, everything that you said, like, what people have to understand is that when it came to Nazi Germany, people forget that they were actually democratically elected, one. The main thing is that they were democratically elected. They have this saying amongst communist circles, they get elected as socialists, and then they keep power as communists. That's kind of like the evolution of socialists and how they become communists. So they're usually democratically elected, and then to keep power because they believe that they have the best model, that's when they pass the communist tyranny stuff. But people have to understand is that Germany was a superpower. It was considered one of the more advanced countries in the world. It was a very powerful country when the Nazis took power. But what happened is that they had like a cultural breakdown in the prior 2 or 3 decades before the rise of the Nazis. So like they had a very similar parallels to America in terms of like the family breakdown, the multiculturalism, open borders, the degenerate sexual lifestyles was drowning out the church, the religiosity, and the German identity they felt that their identity was being watered down by different groups that was there, including the Jews, whatnot. But it was other groups there. Blacks were there, gypsies were there, other Europeans that they didn't like. And they felt that their identity was being washed away. And it's very similar to what you're saying in regards to like this rise of this white separatism and, racism, whatever. It's very similar to what you're saying. So, I would just say to the audience, never fall into this belief that civilization is something that's guaranteed. Society is fragile and it has certain gears that keep it in place. And one of those is like an agenda, a certain balance between rich and poor, a certain balance in the politics. It's a very thin line between being a mostly free society and becoming like a Nazi state tomorrow. It's a very thin line, man. But thanks for having me on, Xanatos. I got to get going.
Yeah.
Have a good night, MOT. Shout out to you, Geo Scholar, as well, and to the chat and the viewer as well. But thanks for having me on. Next time, brother.
Hey, no problem. And we're about to wrap this up anyway. So shout out King Sigma. If somebody can put a link to his channel on there, if any of the mods in there, or King Sigma, feel free to put your link in the channel. So you too, MOT. Scholar, I don't know if you have a channel, but I guess if you want to. But in any case, closing the off, because we are at the 2-hour mark, and I know everyone is here is busy, including myself. We'll start with Geo Scholar. What are your final thoughts?
Well, before I cut off, I wanted to mention, you admit that how Black people kind of have a bad reputation out there. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. You had mentioned that earlier. One other city I wanted to mention was Milwaukee. That's my father's hometown. And from a lot of the stuff I've read, from what I've read, Black people, there's a bad image of the Black. And one thing that I've known, like you mentioned, like a lot of hardworking Black people have sort of been gentrified out of Oakland. in Milwaukee, what I'm seeing is there's like this big brain drain. A lot of educated, a lot of thinking black men are leaving Milwaukee and they're going to other cities. Whereas you have the Daggles, the Maggles, and the hood rats that are staying. And it's like, that is one thing that I thought about when you mentioned the Bay Area.
All right, yeah, and honestly, that's what I've been seeing when it comes to the Bay Area, and a lot of people, particularly those within the Bay Area, how a lot of people within the Bay Area either overlook it, excuse it, or if they aren't about it, they judge all blacks by what they see in the hood. Mainly the hoods of Oakland, East Palo Alto, and with some of the other places, and I don't know what's that place in San Francisco that is basically anyway. But yeah, what you said is completely
Hunter's
Point. Yeah, Hunter's Point, like yeah. So and that is what I strive to emphasize on my channel, specifically on places to avoid, and you just don't want to have anything to do with them if you can. I mean, I had to move here mainly because of my job, but if I knew what I knew now, and I had a feeling that this was going to be the case coming here, and that, yeah, you had this big ass eyesore on black reputation, black men called Oakland, along with the smaller eyesores of East Palo Alto, Hunters Point, Bayside or Bayview, and yeah. So with that, all I'm going to say is this. Thanking black men, SYSBM guys out there, if you want to do an SYSBM lifestyle, if you really want to do it, then make sure you live in the right place that will allow you to do it. Ultimately, your best bets are going outside the country, or at least going outside the 48 contiguous states. But if you have to do it, make sure you do your research first. And my channel, no shame here, but my channel has plenty of videos showing where you can live that SYSBM lifestyle easier than your typical cities. So other than that, MOT dropped off. I'm going to shout out to him. Somebody, if they want to give a link to his channel, I don't have the link. I don't think he's commented here, but any of the mods want to, I'll give a link to MOT as well as King Sigma's channel. And with that, everyone else out there, always bet on X. Oh, yeah. Go ahead and check out Juice Scholar's channel as well. Yeah, everybody else out there, always bet on X.